Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to another episode of the one, the only CUZZO-OP, where you always find two cousins, one podcast, endless entertainment, and tonight, one guest. But before we get to that, my name is Isaiah. I am your host for the evening, and I am joined by the one and only
Willie, as usual.
And we've got somebody here that's special to us. One of the show's biggest fans, first and foremost, because he's a supporter, shows love, not me, but also a creative, a presence, especially back in my hometown, back in Rockland. I've known this guy since high school, one of my best buds. So glad he could join us tonight, the one and only Marcus Jordan.
Yes, sir. Hey, thank y'all for having me out, man. Like I said, I'll be tuned in. I'll be really tuned in to y'all, so it's an honor to be here with y'all, for real, for real.
Absolute, bro. We're so glad you're here. We're excited to jump into tonight's conversation. How you feeling, bro? How you feeling about jumping into tonight's convo?
Oh, man, I'm chilling. I'm excited, bro. You know I've been waiting all day for this.
Willie, what about you? Before we even say what we're talking about, how you feeling about tonight?
I'm excited. This is a conversation I think I've been always wanting to have with someone, and so this is going to be a fun time for me to be able to do this.
Absolute, I agree. So, without further ado, tonight's topic, Marcus and I were working on some music, and he looked at me while we were in the middle of a session and said, yo, bro, before we continue, I got to ask you a serious question. And I said, what's up? And he was like, yo, you think the Batman is better than the Dark Knight? And I looked at him and I said, we're going to have to jump into that. So tonight, we're jumping into that right now. And so I want to definitely kind of like size each movie up, but we'll do it in the strategy of kind of just talking about certain qualities of the movie, from the writing to the way it's shot, to the place it's filmed at, to the actors, just kind of pick it apart. Any places you guys want to specifically jump in first? Anything top of mind?
Listen, I'm going to let y'all lead me. All I'm going to say is that the Dark Knight, you know what I mean? Top tier. I'm Team Dark Knight today.
What if we just start with ratings? What did you rate each movie, would you say, if you could? One out of 10.
Can I ask you to go first? What's up? What you think?
Absolute. I see both movies well in the nines. I would say Dark Knight is like a 9.3 to me. And I'd say that the Batman is like a 9.4. Like just one notch more for me, but they're both excellent. What about y'all?
I got both of these movies at a 9, somewhere between 9 and 10. They are both fantastic films. And, you know, just as a clarifying question, I would love to know, as the originators of this topic, are you guys referring to these movies as movies, plain and simple, or movies about the Batman, about the Dark Knight?
See, that's another piece I think we need to jump into, bro, which was what I was trying to tell him. I felt like, I think that's what we should do, actually, unless y'all want to quickly say your ratings.
Well, I mean, I got the 9. Marcus?
I'm going to say, for sure, we're going to give the Dark Knight a 10. 10 out of 10. All right? And when we go into the Batman, I'm going to give that like a solid 7.6.
What?
This is going to be
Hot-
one of those
this is gonna be
conversations,
crazy.
fellas.
Oh, I'm excited. I'm
I'll take
excited.
Central.
I'm excited. I'm excited.
Let's jump in. This is going to be beautiful, bro.
All right, run it.
Yeah, so I think we have to talk about this, right? It's a Batman movie, right? So it's like, it's hard because it's like what Willie said. You want to split it up and talk about it as a Batman movie versus as a movie, but I think we need to dare to do both at the same time. And I just think, like, as a representation of Batman, this was a very authentic take, man. I felt like the detective that Batman is often not well displayed in different mediums sometimes when it comes to especially live action film, and I felt like they captured it really well on this one, and that was the driving force for me throughout the entire movie. It was like that notion of him as Batman had me hooked in.
Okay. No, I feel that. I mean, they definitely did touch on his detective side, but what I feel personally is that they tapped in too much. Like at times, I'm just like, they just keep talking. I'm a action type dude. You know what I'm saying? You got to catch me a little bit. You know, it'll be like 30, 40 minute span of us just talking. You know what I'm saying?
Nah, that's a good point. I hear you.
Absolutely. I hear him also, and I love the detectiveness nature of the Batman. Like that was the selling point to me. A noir detective style film set in this universe starring the world's greatest detective. Marcus, to your point about throwing me some action, this is where I'm like, you like the action in the Dark Knight?
Oh, for
Ooh,
sure. 1000%. Even with that opening scene is very iconic. I feel like we got to dive into that separately, but just from that opening scene alone, that speaks volumes.
Absolutely. And I agree with you about the opening scene because both of these films have incredibly memorable opening scenes. Um, okay, okay. There's a huge point that I'm gonna make later that I feel like is huge to this, but we gonna keep going until we get to that point.
I'm gonna touch on this point since we're talking about the detective side of Batman. You guys watched the Sherlock Holmes, right? With who's the
oh,
actor?
I'm Robert Downey Jr.
Robert Downey Jr. And I feel like that's a perfect combination of the detective side, you know what I'm saying, and then along with the action, you know what I'm saying. So that's what I feel like they could have tapped into a little bit more.
That's a good take.
I guess I didn't feel that because the action in the Batman when there was, it felt very like, yeah, this is it right here. Like it. I mean, yeah, it felt great. Like there was enough in there for me. I thought it was a good mix, but I could also understand why like the 30 minutes is a really long time, but it didn't bother me much because it is a longer movie than The Dark Knight. It's a 3 hour film. Like
That's true. It's very long, and I think as a result of that, that this leads to the next part that I want to talk to y'all about, which is like the world of Gotham in these two movies. I feel like this is another place where the Batman it definitely laps multiple times laps the Chicago-based Gotham of freaking the Dark Knight series. That shit was so shamelessly Chicago throughout each of the movies. Well, not Batman Begins. Batman Begins had this ominous feel to it.
Batman Begins
Uh
was a
huh.
good Gotham.
Yeah, I agree. They were doing something with that. In fact, that Rocksteady was inspired by that, and that's how they started to build out their Arkham, which was super tough, which is cool. Anyways, all that being said, I just think like at the end of the day, the Batman did such a great job making Gotham a character throughout the entire film, which is very true to the comics, bro. Gotham is ominous, you know.
Yes, Gotham needs to be a character, and in the Batman, it was a living and breathing city. It was a character, versus the Dark Knight, where it's just a city.
I feel the energy. I feel the energy. I like the point when you guys are saying that for the Batman it looks like Gotham, but we gotta take consideration the movie just came out just last year? Was it
Yeah,
just
last year.
it was just last year, so technology is different. You know the CGI is a little different. When did the Dark
Shut
Knight? Come
up,
on, talk to
bro.
me. Talk to me.
I can't feel that when 1989 Gotham was a living, breathing city
That's
with
true too.
with Michael
I think it was
Keaton.
just
They made
lazy. It
that
was
happen, and
laziness.
it was lazy because even Batman Begins had the Gotham that was like, okay, this is Gotham, and then they just lost it. So it's not like they didn't do it; they did it and then said,
Bro,
forget
you
it.
could have taken B-roll footage from the town of Chicago and put it into Batman's certain scenes when they're flying over Chicago,
Right, right,
aka
right.
Gotham.
Okay,
In
so I
fact, I'm
can see
pretty
your
sure
point.
it's
I
what
can
he
see your
did.
point on that. I see your point. You said they got the B roll from Chicago. They put that in. You could have put it in Chance the Rapper video. That's what you're saying.
That's what I'm
That's
saying.
what you saying.
And any Chicago rappers scenes, bro, for real. But at the end of the day, I hear what you're saying in terms of time. Yes, but bro, it's not about what you got; it's what you do with it. You
Right,
feel
right,
me?
right.
And that's what I felt.
But let me
That's what I
tell you
felt.
though, you know what I'm saying? Because we all from New York and everything like that. At the time when I was watching it, I didn't know Chicago. For me, they sold that was Gotham for me. You know what I'm saying? At the time, so I didn't find it too much of an issue, and the fact of like how they made it look. You know what I'm saying? Especially in that car scene where you see the truck just flip over and everything like that. We get a grand scale because we actually there. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like they tapped in more like it felt a little bit more realistic in that end. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
that's true because then that makes me think of that Dark Knight chase through the city,
You feel me?
and that scene is pretty Gotham-y when they have the truck and they pulled out with the rocket launcher. That is a pretty
I mean, I agree, but it's also because like, yeah, it feels Gothamy because it's just criminal activities and
yeah
shit is
yeah yeah.
going
No, you're right. Yeah,
crazy.
yeah, I heard that too.
You know,
I
it's
hear that too.
about feeling like Gotham when nothing is
Yeah,
happening.
which is
And I
which is what
think
I think
that's the
they teed
Batman.
that off, and leading into our next point that I want to hear y'all. That opening scene. All right, so we've got two very insane opening scenes, both very memorable, both in my honest opinion, top 10 opening scenes, like that level. So, what do y'all think about that? Like, what are your thoughts on the scene? Starting with Marcus, what do you think, bro?
I think personally, like, because I remember in the theaters when I was watching The Dark Knight, just how they got the drone shot of the city. You know what I'm saying? Just to show you what we getting into. You know, and then also with the Joker, we didn't know that who was the Joker at that time. You're trying like who's the Joker type thing. Everyone got a mask. You know, and then you got everyone clipping each other. You know what I'm saying? Everyone getting each other, and then Joker escaping in with the bus, super smooth, right into the line. I just felt like that was super iconic. Like top two, iconic.
Yeah, it is iconic. It is iconic, bro. That scene gives me chills to
Come
this
on,
day,
man.
bro.
I wanna hear y'all what y'all think about the Batman, about the opening scene for there.
When we say opening scene, I'm thinking opening 10 minutes. Same as like the bank heist is roughly that time. So like the opening
Okay.
technical scene of the Batman is the Riddler killing the mayor. So like that's a dope way to open because you don't really expect it. And it showcases a lot about the Riddler as a character and honestly sets up what the film is going to be. But then it moves into the real, like, this is also Batman. And it's one of Batman's greatest scenes because the monologue behind it is fantastic. Like, and just visually, the scene is stunning because of how, number one, it's showcasing Gotham, but two, it's like, it is selling home the point of darkness, the shadows that Batman is. And I've never felt a shadow look darker than I
Yep,
thought in that
yep,
moment with the
yeah,
monologue. I was like, that shadow looks extra dark. And something that I actually want to talk about eventually is the soundtrack, but the soundtrack and the score behind that particular moment of the monologue and just it's all just so well done leading into the first fight scene of the movie and the first time we see him. That's spectacular. And remember, I have a point that I'm holding in my back pocket right now that these opening scene talks, they're gonna come back during that time also.
yeah. I think the same thing. I agree with both. I think iconic opening scene from Dark Knight for sure. I think it's an iconic scene from Dark Knight for sure. But at the same time, there's too many areas where I feel like the Batman lapses stylistically, pacing wise, soundtrack wise. There's just a lot of different things that they perfected and they tied all together really cleanly. And as a result, bro, I mean, I just felt like I felt scared of Batman, and I haven't felt scared of Batman in a long time, you know. And I was scared of Joker. I was scared of Joker for sure off that scene. You're like, dang, yo, he's somebody to like not be messed with type of deal, you know. But all that being said, that's why both of them are so great. They usher you into the film very well. So definitely strong on those two. What's another topic you guys want to jump into?
I mean, like I think since I had just said it soundtrack wise, they're both fantastic. I think they're both just they the essence that it gives off for the film is great. But like Hans Zimmer, that's tough to beat. But Michael Giacchino does his own thing and he works because every soundtrack, even when listening outside of the movie, it's like this feels like I don't know if y'all have taken the time to listen like Catwoman soundtrack. It feels something like
Catwoman.
this is a
Yeah.
thief. This is Catwoman-y. This feels very Hans Zimmer makes great epic music. This is something I was speaking about with somebody recently with like Dragon Ball Z and like the Japanese soundtrack versus the English soundtrack. And it's like epic music typically wins the fan base, but I like the music that's more stylized for the character. So I go Michael Giacchino, but I understand Hans Zimmer is a genius also.
Yeah, that's tough. That's a good take.
Okay. Because what I was gonna say, right? Because cause I rewatched it today, the Batman. I ain't gonna lie, the soundtrack sounds a little emo. It makes me now look. I feel like the difference between the soundtracks is when I watch the Dark Knight, I feel riled up. You know what I'm saying? I feel like okay, we about to get into it. You know what I'm saying? And I know that the Batman soundtrack got hot on TikTok. You know what I'm saying? Hands, hands in you know what I'm saying? I don't know what song that is. That's like the main song.
Underneath
Right,
the
right. But personally,
bridge.
I just
Yeah.
feel like it just had a serious but not like sad tone to it when it came to The Dark Knight, in my opinion. You know what I'm saying?
So like when you were speaking right now, you brought up something in the way. I wasn't even like thinking about that when I said like soundtrack, because that's licensed, but even just like the opening monologue where it's going like that's more so what I'm thinking. I'm like, that is where I'm like, the music feels better fit for the characters and the world who they're for. Where Hans Zimmer makes the epic music, like the Dark Knight's main theme is that dun 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 dun, like that's crazy. And this all comes down to what the movie is trying to convey: the noir, emo stylized film versus this grand Batman, action film.
Nah, it
So
definitely fits the film.
they're
It
both
definitely
great.
Yeah, they're
fits.
Like here's
both
the thing, we're
excellent.
we're we're going back and forth on these things. Listeners, keep in mind, at least for Isaiah and I, these are 9 out of 10 movies, both of them. So like, me saying I take the Batman is not me saying the Dark Knight is whack. No, they're bink bink right here, one and
Yeah,
one.
of course, of course. Yeah, no, I definitely hear you on that. You know what I'm saying? I can respect, you know what I'm saying? I can respect the Batman. But like I said, remember the rating.
One of the words, so I want to keep diving into that. So, in light of that, let's talk villains, right? Like, I think part of the one thing for me in Dark Knight is undeniable, bro. Is Heath Ledger as the Joker? Like, it's, in my opinion, arguably one of the best depictions of a villain in film history. In my opinion, I think it has to be in that conversation. I think we'll always see why so serious on walls till we die. Like, that's just my opinion. So, as a result, I want to hear what you think about Riddler because I know you love Joker. I know that. Like, if you don't love Joker, you wilding out. But I want to hear what you thought about Riddler from the Batman, Marcus.
Honestly, like I was with him for like 75% of the movie, but when they called him in the coffee shop and I saw him, for some reason that illusion went away from me and I just didn't really take him as seriously. You know what I'm saying? Like he was really killing it. But there was one part, I don't know if you guys recollect this, but he had like a prisoner or something or someone that was hostage and he was recording it on his phone. I feel like that was a direct ripoff from the
Oh
Joker
shoot!
in the Dark Knight. Because when I was rewatching it today, I'm just like that kind of looks oddly familiar. You know what I'm saying? It come off as great as Heath Ledger's. You know what I'm saying? So that's my little point is that when they caught him at that point, it just kind of just you know killed the illusion for me. It just like he wasn't the same after that point. You know what I'm saying?
I get that. But then I also think about like so many other interpretations of Riddler or just like hostage situations in general. And I'm like, I mean, they all follow that same pattern. Although, like, I know Ledger was like, let me do this shit on my own. Like, for that scene, he did it himself. Like, that was him holding, typically they have somebody hold like a cameraman's hand or something while they're holding the whole. But like, so Ledger definitely had that. But I think that they're both fantastic with like the hostage situation. Most people would say that that part where they get Riddler from there on out, that's where the movie gets a little bit shaky. I remember my first conversation with Isaiah, even him saying like, the third act to me, I don't know. And then he came back to me. He was like, all right, I'm with that. But
I think that's definitely a good point to jump into next. That third act and the ending of the movies. We talked about the beginning. Let's talk about the end of each of these. Like, do you feel like do you still feel connected to the ending of Dark Knight? Because in my opinion, I don't feel connected. I felt way more connected to the ending of Batman Begins and the way more to the connection to the end of the Dark Knight Rises. Those are much more memorable to me. I sometimes forget what the last part of Dark Knight is. Sometimes, like when I'm thinking through the whole movie, I'll be like, "Oh yeah, he's hanging upside down. He got captured. I forgot about that scene."
Are you talking about where the Joker was hanging, like after like the two boat scene thing and everything? But then remember, the scene after that was the one with Harvey Dent. And then remember he had the coin. Come on now,
shoot.
see now it's hitting your
Yeah.
temple.
You
No, they
see?
are both incredible endings, and the thing is,
Right.
That's
they are also
true.
opposite endings.
Mm-hmm.
You have the Dark Knight, where Batman is saying, I can't be the hero that Gotham needs me to be. It needs to be who Harvey Dent was, and so I will be the villain. And then on the opposite side, you have Batman. You have Batman literally saying, I am the hero that Gotham needs me to be as long as I do it the right way. And so they are completely opposite endings that I can understand both, because at the end of the day, it's the hero coming to the realization of what the city needs best. And so I love both endings. I think they're both
That's a
just as
good.
good
That's a
as
good
their
take.
openings.
That's a
I just
great
felt
take.
like with the Batman, I feel like he just didn't for a detective type movie. Like I feel like he solved the riddles, but I don't think like he prevented anything. You know what I'm saying? Everything still end up happening, the
I,
bombing
I,
and everything.
I well, I think at
You
the
know?
end he does conclude the main part, right? Like they crack it right before it's too late, kind of concept. Um, Even though it's still too late, like they definitely did some damage at the end of the day, is what I'm trying to say. But I also think it's like that's part of what's beautiful about the Batman as well. It's not a straightforward linear story in that dynamic. I felt like they took chances with some of the storytelling, and I think like the main overarching thing is the Batman. It doesn't really matter what happened to the city. We're talking about the Batman. You know, like the city's important in the backdrop of the Batman and what it means for him. But I feel like that was also what I liked about this movie's ending. Dark Knight was great because of the same thing. There was the Batman, but at the same time, I just like the way they depicted it in the Batman. I felt like it was smoother, deeper, and they really they did that.
You know, hopping on, I think, was it Marcus that said it? One of you guys said something like this that made me think of this. He didn't conclude anything. I think Marcus, yeah.
Right, right. Come on.
I think that's the point with him coming to the realization the way I've been doing things didn't do shit, which is why I need to change how I do this from now on. And so him in the end is saying, I can't be vengeance. I need to be hopeful. I need to be the light in the city during the dark times. And so that's where I'm like, I think the fact that he didn't conclude the flooding of Gotham makes the ending hit harder because it forces the change out of him.
Yeah, that's good.
No, I hear you.
It's a really good
No,
take.
I definitely hear you. You know, but for a detective movie, like we gotta prevent something. Everything still ended up happening. You know, the only thing that happened was the Riddler was locked up, but he already did what he had to do. You know what I'm
But
saying?
don't you see how in the story, his conclusion, which digs deeper into his own story, that is really the true resolve of the mystery.
Got you.
We
And
we
they're setting
walk
it up for
away
the
with
next
this.
movie.
Yeah, exactly. Like that point is meaningful for him as a character, and I felt like that was the point where my eyes went, "Oh, they just tied it all together." The eureka, the mystery
Right.
solved type concept. So,
Okay, I hear you. I hear you on that.
all right. Well, I mean, any other topics you guys want to jump into?
Now I just want to talk about how the Batman in the Dark Knight, like he was really like the Batman, the billionaire playboy, but then also he gets gully in the night. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what I want to touch on because we got the dude from Twilight.
All right,
That's your hero right now.
here we
You know
go.
what I'm saying?
My back pocket.
We got Christian.
My back pocket.
Yeah.
My back pocket.
Come
The,
on, talk to me.
the main character of the movie, Batman. Who goes to watch The Dark Knight for Christian Bale as Batman?
No
No
one.
one. Whoever speaks about his run as Batman as memorable? No one,
Never.
because he's terrible.
No, see, nah.
Because
People recognize. Okay,
number one,
go ahead.
again, no one goes to watch that for this, but it's all about characterization of Batman. Also, what we all think the character of Batman should be, and I think as Bruce Wayne, Christian Bale is terrible because I don't like the way. I'm not saying his acting as an actor, Christian Bale kills it, but as a characterization of who Bruce Wayne is, I don't like him being the billionaire playboy dickhead because that is
Talk
not
about
who
it. Talk
Bruce
about
Wayne
it.
is
Talk
supposed to
about
But
it.
be.
isn't that what Batman
No,
is?
that's all
Like
right.
kind of like a But kind of like Iron Man, they're like the
No,
same thing, just different things. Like you got the millionaire, but in the nighttime, this man gets gully. You know what I'm saying? He does his thing.
this is where the
Come on.
characterization of Batman comes into play because it's like, yeah, do you think that the Bruce Wayne is a mask that he wears? If you think that, okay. But in most Batman scenarios, he is a charitable, lovable billionaire that eats with his employees, that is out hosting them in his house. And those are not the key attributes that I see when I look at Christian Bale's portrayal of Bruce Wayne.
Really?
But, you
That's
know,
odd. What?
to be fair,
Mm-hmm.
if we want to do a comparison, then we can't even really discuss Bruce Wayne because he's not Bruce at all during the Batman. He is Batman the entire time. He hasn't learned how to put on that mask yet. And so if we're looking at Batman, I also think his Batman is just terrible.
That's crazy. So you say terrible. So when you think of Christian Bale as
One of my
Batman,
least favorite Batmans that we've ever gotten in the history of
that's
Batman.
like personally, I felt like Christian Bale did an incredible job as Batman. He's my favorite Batman. I
As
mean, I guess obviously.
as an
Hmm.
actor, I think he always did his best. His voice is terrible. I think we could agree on
The
that.
voice, okay,
But
I'll agree.
it's the
I'll retweet on
writing
that.
standpoint. Like
Hmm.
my problems are not with Christian Bale. I just can only refer to him as Christian Bale's Batman. But like the action that you were talking about earlier, anything that has to do with the Batmobile is fire. You take him out of that, it's ugly. It's one of the nastiest, most shameful fights ever. There's not one good fight from the Dark Knight while he's inside the Batsuit.
I agree. I agree.
Oh, okay. So you're saying that there's not a valid fight scene with him,
Yeah.
like him and like
Especially that
in the bat
opening
suit,
scene with the
just going
dog. I
crazy.
always have hated the way he looked in that opening scene. He looked so stiff in the suit. I was so tight.
I, to me, the suit is ugly too. It was a downgrade from Batman Begins.
Y'all tweaking. I'm just gonna say it right now.
You
Y'all
look at his
tweaking.
face, you look at his big forehead, you look at the chin, you look at how skinny and like it's just none of that works, especially when the better suit is from Batman Begins.
Did you see that scene? The lost scene of Joker?
The lost scene of Joker.
It's like a 5-minute deleted scene with the Batman and the Joker from the Batman movie that
Nah, hold up. We might have to just pause this and show him right now, bro. Let's just show him right now.
See, I'm an open-minded person, bro. That shit right there, that shit was heat. I'm like I want to see what they do with him, bro. Cause he's looking different. He's not looking like the other Jokers. You could really see like the crazy like scars and just the way he's talking, the hair. You know what I'm saying? His fingers, bro. Like I really feel, hey flex. You know what I'm saying?
And he was using these very particular words that paint a kind of picture of who he is. He's quite theatrical and also brilliant, like dangerously brilliant.
Right, right,
So
right.
it's dope, man. He's
That was
very
dope.
dope.
They should have included. Yo, that shit was fire. I ain't gonna lie. That was heat.
I get why they didn't include it because they couldn't really find a place for that. But I mean, when my opinion comes to Joker with all of these movies is like, people always talk comic accurate or most like, and it's like, to me, if we're looking at comic accuracy and all that, my favorite Joker might be Jack Nicholson
That's crazy.
because I don't like Heath Ledger's Joker when it comes to looking at who the Joker as a character is supposed to be. When you look at like iconic, you think of Mark Hamill. Whenever Mark
Well, you kind
Hamill,
of wilding out right
Yeah,
now,
he's
bro.
kind of bugging out.
He's kind of say some crazy
He's
things
kind of
right now.
wilding.
I'm not. Look at Mark Hamill from Arkham City, Mark Hamill from the Batman animated
Right.
series,
He was this playful
or
Joker.
even comic
Yes.
books. Not even playful; it's psychotic. And Heath Ledger's is not psychotic.
You don't think so? You don't think that it's a subtle psychotic? Like sometimes the
He's too
psychotic can
articulate for
be.
me. He seems put together. Joker is not supposed to seem put together, and Heath put
Because
together.
that's one thing I hear him on, because him being unstable is
He's
part of
an
what makes him scary.
anarchist. He's not. He
Yeah,
wanted to
yeah.
do anarchy.
Right. But these are all like different takes on the Joker. Now, for me
No,
particular,
I'm talking like even comic book wise, where it's like most cases the Joker is a psychopath who be doing shit. I can't see Heath Ledger's Joker doing something that's
The
just
same way that he modernized many pieces of the Batman stories, the same way he did that with Joker, I felt like it was modernized and it was nuanced in a way where you see a very reserved version of that crazy. I think that does exist because it's based off the backdrop of what's crazy to these characters. Those characters all cared about money. So when he goes about burning all of that money, that could be perceived as chaotic. You know what I mean? So
of course, but that's what I'm talking about. Like as a character and as the universe that they built for these movies, it's all 100% valid. The conversation is more on the comic book wise. Like we haven't had that Joker for me. Like
I understand.
but I feel like Heath Ledger definitely is the best Joker, no cap. And then second gotta come Joaquin Phoenix. I feel like Joaquin Phoenix did an incredible job.
I'm one of those guys that doesn't like. I don't care for Joker. I know that's
What? See, y'all
crazy.
bugging in the chat
I
today.
just don't. I
I
actually
mean,
just don't
no.
care. Sorry.
Here, number one, the thing I love about all this is perspective, right? Because we all come with different perspectives. Like last week, we were talking about Star Wars. Isaiah and I's perspective was different. So here we have all of these different perspectives. And so, like, I hear why people say Heath Ledger is their favorite. And I completely understand it because he is the star of that movie.
That is
Word.
true,
He is the reason why that movie is so memorable
right?
because without him, what do you
That is a
have?
true fact.
This is why I was tight how he
You
went
know?
out.
But like for me, as someone who like has this idea of what I hope to get from a Joker one day, he isn't that. But I love him still. Joaquin Phoenix isn't that, but I love that interpretation. And this all comes to a conversation that Isaiah and I are going to be having soon about our preferences of DC over Marvel. Think about Nicholson, Hamill, Ledger, Phoenix. You have all these different versions of Joker, and yet we still have them in the conversation of Jokers because they're so different yet still recognizable. That's where I feel like Marvel doesn't have. I feel like it's harder for them to do these different takes, these different
It's a
stories.
great point.
And so
It's a great point.
the perspective of all of us and what we think of Joker is a little bit different, but Ledger, fantastic.
Yeah.
You guys have anything else, or can I hit another point?
Dang, now you got my mind thinking about that. Can't wait to have that conversation. Nah, go ahead, bro. Hit your point.
So the next point I want to make is performances and side characters because we've spoken about main villain and we've spoken about main hero, but the side characters are also a huge part of this of both of these films. And so like I don't know if either of you guys have any area you wish to launch off of particularly, but like for me, the Batman side cast is better than the Dark Knight's side cast of characters. Even though Nolan be casting the most craziest of crazy actors to pop up in his movie, I think that the way that they were written and the characters are better in the Batman.
I'll disagree. I would say for sure the Dark Knight has what's it called, a better side cast, because like I said before, we got what's it called, Two Face. That was an incredible performance. You know, so we are just touching on that, and then even Morgan Freeman as Mr. Fox. You know what I'm saying? Like that was super fire of just how he just hooked up all the technology for him. Like that went hard. And then even Alfred, I was a big fan of Alfred in the movie. I felt like he was like how I really like envision him. You know what I'm saying? Like live action. You know, so definitely I would say that was only the few that I was naming. You know what I mean? I don't want to dive in too crazy, but for sure, I feel like the Dark Knight has a better like side cast.
I hear you. I hear you. I think the way I would think it through is I would think about, okay, what characters are in the Batman that are also in the Dark Knight, and which one's a better depiction? That's where I'd start. And for me, Commissioner Gordon from Dark Knight is too iconic to be lapsed by the depiction of he's not commissioner in this one. What is he?
He's not a commissioner. I believe he's just captain.
Nonetheless, whatever his position is, all I'm saying is that I think that that depiction wasn't as good as Commissioner Gordon in Dark Knight, especially with his play on Joker in that scene, and when he pops back out and he sees his wife and his wife slaps him, like it's just come on, bro. it's he was in his bag. He was doing his thing, man. That's a crazy side character for me. So off that, then I think about Catwoman. Obviously, nothing to compare it to. I just love Catwoman's performance. Zoe is amazing, bro. She's a freaking great. So I love that. Penguin was excellent, bro. I don't want to hear nothing from no one. Colin Farrell was eating, cooking, feasting,
You got it. I'm not even disagreeing with you in
cooking.
that point. I feel like the Penguin was on point to what the Penguin needed to be. I can't say it outshines Harvey Dent. You know what I'm saying? Because if we're considering, because in both Batmans they have basically two enemies. You know what I'm saying? We have Harvey Dent and the Joker in The Dark Knight, and then when it comes to the Batman, we have the Riddler and the Penguin. And I feel like they like the enemies obviously from Dark Knight, you know, runs laps around the Batman. But that was the past point that we had. You know what I'm saying?
Runs laps is crazy in my
Run
opinion.
laps.
Laps is not true, not true. But for Gordon, it's interesting because I see Gordon in both of the characters. I just like the presence that Jeffrey Wright carries as Gordon, as like that commanding police presence of like, this is how things are gonna be, and yada yada yada. And his relationship with Batman, I like that dynamic. Their partnership that they have here feels better than their partnership in the Dark Knight. Like there's that connection that I'm like, I never really got that from the Dark Knight movies. Although they did work together,
Right.
it was the partnership that I felt. And Jeffrey's very like, I don't know if you the right word would be like monotone.
Yeah, it's like anime.
Yeah. Like, we gotta get you out of this station now and all that. But then
You're gonna
yeah,
have to punch me in
also
my eye when you open the
Gary
door.
Oldman was also great, and like he looks like Gordon, which is already gives you so much. Like when you look like that, it boom, it completely launches. But I do think Wright ended up as my favorite Gordon by the end of the film, just because of how he interacts with Batman. I think a lot of this for me is how they interact with the main character,
Right.
and which is why like Penguin, I also love that because Penguin has always been like very pokey with Batman. Like I'm gonna poke you until you punch me in the face. Falcone was also or Falcone was interesting, but he was just like a mob
Yeah,
boss.
he
Like
was just there for like 2 seconds. Like they talked
he
about him the
was,
whole movie.
although I would say he is more of that Two-Face character than Penguin is.
Really?
He is the other villain in the movie.
Got you.
Um, Catwoman, Zoe Kravitz, yeah. Andy Serkis was limited as Alfred, but I liked again his relationship with Batman more than I liked Michael Caine's character's relationship with Batman.
Really?
Michael Caine was that butler who's gonna
Who's an
protect
older friend?
Bruce, yeah, versus Andy Serkis. When I like Alfred when he'll tell Batman to his face like, "Yo, what the fuck?"
Yeah, there's
Like
like a
that's
father
the
son type of
and
relationship.
yeah, Circus felt like that, where he's like, "I'm gonna help you with this, but we gonna make sure that this is like that." But he was limited. Like we see so much more of Michael Caine as Alfred
That's what I was saying.
that's
Mm-hmm.
like that's the thing about this movie being the first movie. It's there's there's a lot of introduction, and here these characters are on the bottom at the beginning. Versus Dark Knight, it's the middle movie. It just so happens that these two are widely regarded as the best Batman movies, but in terms of character interaction and characterization, the Batman overall just I feel like it grips me more into what I want the Batman
Yeah,
to be.
I agree with that too.
So
That's where I get my point one. I mean, I thought that the Riddler was extremely gripping from the beginning of the movie to the end.
Right. I'm a fan. I'm a fan of the Penguin. Definitely from that movie. I'm a fan of the Penguin.
so are you going to be watching his show?
Oh, this is a show.
See, come on, they building now, bro.
Before the Batman 2, there's going to be a show on HBO called Penguin that takes place.
That's finna be heat.
Yeah.
It's on HBO Max. I already know what it's gonna be like. You know what I'm saying? That's finna be heat. Like I said, I got an open mind. You know what I'm saying? I'm
Yeah.
with you. I want this series to be great.
Word.
Let me tell you that. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah. And I think the Batman lands in a nice middle ground of realistic enough, but we're also going to be Batman-y
right.
versus Nolan's films always felt very much Realistic first, Batman later.
Yes, that's definitely his take for sure.
Nah, yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I definitely understand that.
with the card from earlier, with what back to the whole main character and Batman and Christian Bale and Robert Pattinson. We spoke about opening scenes of the movie. Why is the opening scene of the movie for The Dark Knight remembered? Because of Heath Ledger and Joker. Why is the opening scene of the Batman remembered? Because of Batman.
Okay, but we just talking about the movie. You know what I'm saying? Like if you
I
compare
know, but
Bat,
just from what we were speaking about earlier, it's like the memorable parts of this film. The title, the titular character, ain't the reason why you're here, nor is it the reason why you will ever discuss or remember this movie in a positive light.
right. But like I mentioned earlier, like I feel like the enemies make the movie. You know what I'm saying? Like I said earlier, like Thanos, I understand that you said that they set him up to be the protagonist, but the enemies always make the movie. Even if we go to Rocky, like we know Apollo Creed, you know what I'm saying? So it's kind of just like they make the movie, you know? That's what I would say.
Yeah, I mean, I hear that too. They definitely do, especially in a movie that gets brought into a series or launches off a series. You get one constant character that does grow, but it is the villains that they overcome that make the movie for sure. So I hear you on that. I don't know, bro. I think at the end of the day, both of these movies are so great.
Right. Because it's our opinions, you know
I
what I'm
think you're
saying? So
wilding for saying
it's
it's a
it's it's it's,
7.6.
it's
I think that's
perspective.
crazy.
For
Yeah,
me,
can
for
you
me,
explain that? Can you
At the end of
explain
this
that
let me dive
rating?
conversation,
in.
does
Let
it
me dive
does it
in.
change it at
That
all? Like, what's going on?
that no,
I'm
because
gonna dive
if
in.
he brings his points, because that's a crazy number. Because it seems like he's like, I get you there and I get you there. So what is it that is conflicting?
Nah, because I can hear your points, and even a point that you guys haven't said today was the cinematics of the Batman. Like when I was rewatching it, I was just like, yeah, the cinematics is nice and everything, right? But even today, when I was trying to watch it, the movie is just way too dark. Like I think it's an issue when it comes to the movies nowadays, where it's just like how they color graded. It's just super like dark. It's hard to make out things sometimes. Like if you're not in a dark room and watching the movie, you're gonna have trouble really getting out the details. That was one reason why I like didn't like. I low key fell asleep during the first time I watched it. No disrespect, no
That's real
disrespect, and I never
disrespectful,
fall.
bro. What?
You know what I'm saying? Nah, because I just felt like it was a little dark, like in terms of like the color grading, and it was just a lot of talking for me. You know what I'm saying? I know the action, the fighting scenes and everything like that were memorable, but I just felt like it took a long time to get there. And then the point that we haven't discussed today is the car scene. I feel like the car scene is very important when it comes to a Batman movie. You know what I'm saying? Especially that reveal. And if I'm not mistaken, in the Batman, my man stalled. Like when he started the car and he's about to rev up, my man stalled. I'm like, this is how we gonna introduce the Batmobile? You know what I'm saying? Got the '67 Chevy. That thing is This is
I visualize
crazy.
that as like a goading, like he's gonna do that to say like it's your move. I'm ready to
Okay.
go if you
That's
are.
hard. Like when you rev
If
your
you want to
engines.
do this, yeah. If you want to do this, I'm ready to do it. Here's your chance not to. And then he did it. He said, "Okay,
He said, okay.
I like the car more than the tank."
You crazy. See,
Wow,
I like the
Willie is
tank. Give me
going
the tank.
crazy right
Right, give me
now.
the tank. Yeah, he's
Bro,
wilding
it's the
because
tank.
yeah, man. And it turned into a motorcycle.
Exactly. It's a tank.
Just for fun. Turn it into a motorcycle. We
It's
gonna
not
do
a
the more.
Batmobile. It's a tank.
Hey, it's the Batmobile. That's the modern Batmobile. You know what I'm saying?
It's a,
Bro,
it's
it
an
turns
ugly
into the bike.
Batmobile.
You can't forget that, bro. He
Come
has a
on, man.
bike,
Yeah,
bro.
that's what I'm
It's
saying. It turns
hard.
into the bike.
The bike is better than the
But bro,
tank.
Yeah, you
it's
bugging. It's
inside
part
the
of yeah,
tank.
it's part
It's
of it. See,
so
Willie's wilding.
sick.
Is it cool? Is it awesome?
Willie's
Is it
wilding.
all that? Yes. Keep in mind perspective. I like a Batmobile. I like the
The
car. I
Batmobile.
like,
It was never a
you know what I
'67
mean?
All
Chevy.
right, well,
Come
when
on,
we get
bro.
to the point in this universe where his shit starts getting more high tech and it starts
I
looking
need the
cool, then we're gonna have this conversation again. So what's up with this tank versus this futuristic, because it's coming, bro. This is just the beginning of his
right because the '67 Chevy was out the way. You know what I'm
because you know what's
saying?
gonna happen? He starts to get fruitful in his business, then he's gonna start working that professional angle, he's gonna start having more money, we're gonna see some more high tech. That's gonna come up. It's gonna be sick.
The tank is the best Batmobile. Stop it.
If we talking best Batmobile, it is not the
You talking
tank.
the one from 1990s? The long
You're
shits?
talking 1989, bro.
The long shits,
Yeah,
you know
it's
what
got
I'm
to be the whole
saying?
thing. Yeah.
Nah, but you can't even take a right turn, bro. You know what I'm saying?
Or you about to? How do you even do that? Facts.
Yeah, you can't even take a right
Bale's
turn.
motorcycle was the best vehicle that he had.
It was part of the tank, like what Q said, it's part of the tank. And the car scene was a little bit more memorable on the Dark Knight side, especially with the drone shots and everything like that. And remember the point that I was talking about earlier with the truck just flipping, and that's real life. You know, that's Christopher Nolan. That really
Yeah,
happened.
yeah. It
You know what I'm
really
saying?
happened.
Like we're not playing games. You know what I'm
So as a
saying?
result, I think Willie, you're bugging out, bro. You talking kind of
Right.
crazy.
For what? For
Bugging.
what?
That vehicle line you went off of, that branch of conversation you went off of was crazy.
It's a tank. It doesn't appeal to me as a Batmobile.
It's the Batmobile, bro.
Exactly. It's not meant to be a freaking tank
All right,
like
bro.
that.
Come on, people are shooting bullets at him. We got Joker with the rocket. Come on, bro. The 67 Chevy can't hold that.
Again, is it cool? Absolutely. And do I get it for the universe that it's in? Yes. But like earlier, perspective wise, that is not what I
That's
want
not
from a
what you want to
Batman
see.
movie.
Okay, okay. You know what I'm saying? Understandable.
A lot of Bale stuff is militarized tech. That's how Lucius
Word.
explains it.
Right.
The cape stuff is high tech military gear this, military gear that. What I'm hearing is he's just the overhyped soldier in these movies. You know what I'm saying?
Chopping that up, bro. He
He
said
chopping,
the
he
Batman
chopping.
Supreme, bro.
He's wilding. You know what I'm saying?
9 out of 10. I love the movie.
Right.
And I love it's called the Tumbler. I love the Tumbler, but I don't like the Tumbler as a Batmobile. They couldn't even call it the Batmobile. They called it the Tumbler. Like,
And the last reason why I said that's a 7.5, right? This movie is too long, bro. We watching
Nah, he's
what we
bugging with
watching,
that.
bro?
We're watching a
It's
epic,
too
bro.
long, bro. The thing is like 3 hours and 30 minutes, I swear to
it's
God.
3 hours and 2 minutes. Stop it. Stop it.
This man tried to Lord of the Rings it real quick. He's
Right,
bugging.
bro. What we watching?
Yo,
Harry Potter?
nah, bro, it goes crazy. That time is every minute is well used, in my opinion. I felt like the pacing was great pacing, in my opinion.
You think so?
I did have
What's
an
the
issue with the
marathon?
third act with the jitteriness and the way that it was kind of rolled out. But at the same time, I felt like it landed. It still landed, and it actually complements the ending. Complements his entire story. So at the end of the day, you know, I have to say Batman. The Batman goes on that.
I was so you said the pacing of the Batman, you like that better.
But at the end of the day, I'm just saying pacing wise, I feel like they kept beat the entire time, so you don't feel like, oh, this is dragging on too long. If you're really invested in the story, now on replayability, the second time around is different. You know what I mean? It's like it's a great experience, but at the same time, I have to really be feeling like a certain type of way to want to sit through another 3 hour movie again.
That's what I'm
That's
talking
one
about.
thing where replayability wise, Dark Knight, I could watch that on repeat. Like if someone threw that on or it's on something that someone's flicking on, I'm probably
Right.
gonna be like, yeah, leave that on. Let's run
Yeah,
that.
100%. I agree with that. Like, I just read right now, if anybody listening has a letterboxed, follow me on that. I read both of my reviews right now while you two were talking of both of these films. And for The Dark Knight, I said it's intense from start to finish, which is 100% true. But then on the other side, I was like, this film might have a slow burn, but it gets there and it hits harder for me.
See, now, like when it comes to watching films, right? Like when I was watching The Joker, right? I know I'm segueing a little bit. When I watched The Joker, I feel like that's the pacing that they could have had for the Batman. You know what I'm saying? Because watching The Joker, each and every fighting scene or action scene was memorable. And I feel like they hit a lot more than the one from the Batman. That's what I'm trying to say. I see what you guys are talking about when it comes to the pacing, but sometimes when we made it to the action part, I don't think it was like that climactic for me.
I understand what you're saying.
Movie versus Batman movie. Batman movie, I'm taking the Batman 10 out of 10 times. Movie, about 6 out of 10 times, I'll pick The Dark Knight.
Yeah, definitely as a movie, I'm gonna give it to the Dark Knight, and I think as the Batman, I'm gonna give it to the Dark Knight.
This guy. I knew he
You
was
feel
gonna do
me?
that.
Nah, I just
Clown.
like
You're a clown,
without
bro.
knowing the comics and everything like that, just a passive fan. Like I even played both movies with my girl, right? And with the Batman, she was tapped out. Like she wasn't even really paying attention. But then when I was playing The Dark Knight, and granted, she didn't even really watch either one of these movies like that. It was pretty much her first time watching it with me. She was captured by The Dark Knight, specifically by the Joker scenes, because we already know Joker made the movie, but it caught her attention more. Like she was on her toes. She put down the switch and she started watching. You know what I'm saying? So just as a passive fan, just looking in without knowing who Batman is and everything like that, I feel like the Christopher Nolan Dark Knight just displayed him a little bit better. You know what I'm saying? As a passive.
I hear what you're saying experientially, but at the same time, bro, I'm saying like most stylized films that end up getting Oscar nominations are not always for like, they are an acquired taste, is what I'm trying to say sometimes. And I think like it takes a lot of effort to make an acquired taste movie because at the end of the day, you have to stay true to this genre, this style that some people just won't like, you know what I mean? And so at the end of the day, I think that's also why I have respect for the Batman. I felt like they were able to really do that and lean in really hard, knowing it was going to jar some people, and yet they took that chance, and I think it paid off. We're only headed toward great things. The legacy that the Dark Knight series has on film and on superhero films, it's iconic. There's like maybe one or two, maybe three Marvel movies that I would even say can compete, to be honest. We can have that conversation later. Marvel versus DC, that's upcoming. Hey, man, we're so glad that you could join us tonight, Marcus. It really was great to have this be like a natural argument that we took to the podcast. You feel me?
Hey man, I'm honored, man. I'll definitely come back.
Thanks, especially since I've just met you right now to record this, and it felt very natural. So it's been great. It's been great. First guest, you know, for people who may be listening, if I'm not mistaken, this was Marcus's idea. He was like, "Let's run the Batman Dark Knight talk. I want to hear that." And we're like, "Yo, we got to have you on, and you got to run that." So
I'm gonna take it. I'm gonna take it. Hey, I appreciate you, man. I appreciate you. It just came naturally, man. We just recording, and then I just had it in my mind. I just like to argue. So I like to debate. So yeah, man, that was an honor, like being on here, and I would like to discuss in the future. You know what I'm saying? Some other movie things, cause I'm a big movie fan. We could talk about Superman, Man of Steel versus I don't know, whatever y'all want to do.
Oh, Batman versus Man of Steel. Yeah, we're going to talk, bro. When we jump into DC, we'll jump into some DC for sure. But anyways, we're so glad that you could even join us tonight, take a listen, or maybe it's not tonight, maybe it's the day, maybe it's the afternoon. Regardless, we're glad you've tapped in with us three. This has been IV, joined by Willie, Marcus. You've been listening to CUZZO-OP, where you always find two cousins, one podcast, endless entertainment.